Hi, I'm Li. Today we come to the fifth of the six-part series about Into the Crisis, On to Champion by building characters. And this week we're going to talk about the characters of gentleness. For a moment, let's revise over the importance of growth mindset. Having a growth mindset is very important, especially in the area of when we're trying to build characters. Building character is not about changing your behavior or action. It's about building something that's authentic, that's within ourselves. And therefore, it is important for us to adopt the right mindset of growth. Having a person of growth mindset who embrace challenges. It is not easy you'll face a lot of challenges when you try to build a character. There will be setback. By having growth mindset, you persist in the face of setbacks. You'll put in effort, and because in having a good growth mindset, you'll see effort as a powerful mastery and not something that's fruitless. Having growth mindset will also make a person to understand that making mistake is okay. It does not mean that we fail. It means that we had yet to learn something else. And so learning from criticism and feedback is an important attribute of someone who has growth mindset. And lastly, it's important for a person having growth mindset to seek for a community of inspiration that we can learn from and not feeling threatened. Gentleness, a character that defines the dictionary as the quality of being kind, tender, mild-mannered, softness of action or lightness. But in Greek, the word gentleness is being explained in a very different way. It's explained as a gentle strength, expressing power with reserve and with gentleness. It's a gentle force. Gentleness is actually a sign of strength, even under crisis, under pressure, and thus it is a virtue. So we can see that the actual meaning of gentleness is not about being tender and soft and speak quietly. No, there is a power of strength in gentleness. Let's for a moment consider the myth of gentleness. There's many stereotypes of gentleness. When you think about the word gentleness, we subconsciously and automatically associate with softness, tenderness, mildness in thoughts and behavior. We start thinking about someone that probably speaks in a very soft tone, in a very monotonous pace. That is how we think when we think about gentleness. In fact, we will never consider or associate gentleness with strength. And we have never really considered what will be the character of a person that is of gentleness. Let's reconsider gentleness today. When we think about a person that's gentle, generally we're thinking about a person that's helpful in resolving difficulties. They are calmer in time of crisis. They are less reactive under provocation. They will not easily react. And they'll be more respectful to others. At the same time, they are more resilient to uncertainties. Look at that. How would that is gentleness. That is how a gentle person can be. Now let's consider the psychology of a gentle person. What would the person be in terms of psychologically? Well, a person with gentleness will have higher capacity for emotions, higher threshold for tolerance, and they'll be more acceptant for things that's unknown or things that are different to them. It looks like they are more acceptable to changing of feeling and adopting and adapting to changes or in crisis. Look at that. That is not the gentleness that we have always associated with, but that is the true meaning of gentleness. You know, the word gentleness in Chinese is called rou. And the word rou comes from two characters. The top character, the upper character is called mao. It's what the English call the spear. The top part, the metal part, the steel part, the mao. And below is a character of wood, mu. And it's the wooden handle of a spear gun. That is the explanation, the image explanation of the word gentleness. As you can see, it's not about, there is a flexibility between and a combination of strength and of, softness. There is this flexibility there of wood and steel. And you can see that there is power in this gentleness because there is the element of a steel in the top part of the Chinese character. Truly, that's why people say there is nothing stronger in the world than gentleness. Another someone said that nothing is so strong as gentleness, nothing so gentle as real strength. You see, it is really true that the word gentleness carry a power of strength, of flexibility. In fact, I will conclude in saying that gentleness is power under perfect control. What do you mean by power of perfect control? Let's give you an illustration of what we mean by that power. Try imagine holding your palm and holding an injured bird with your hand. How will it be? You need to make sure you don't drop it. So you need to have a strong hand. But yet at the same time, you must have a perfect control of your hand to be gentle with the bird in it. So you can see that there is strength in the hand, but yet there is softness in the holding. How about beancurd or the tofu? You know, they're soft. Imagine you're trying to put this, grab this in your palm. You know, you cannot be too strong, but yet at the same time, you need to be, a flexibility there in your hand. You see, you need a very perfect control. There's power in that in order to be able to handle such softness. Another example. How about this? How about the way we discipline our children? Let's say when we discipline our children for some some capital punishment, and we give a spank on the butt. Now, the spank should be painful enough for him or her to learn a lesson. But the strength of the spank should not be strong that it will injure him. You see, that is what I mean, a power of perfect control. That is gentleness. Consider the attribute of having gentleness. We are talking about being consideration. We're thinking of being mindful. We're talking about having a thought of the person they were interacting or the bird, injured bird. We're talking about being firm and yet strong. It takes the strongest finger of all to hold the most delicate things. So gentleness is not about behavior. It's about something, an inner character, a attribute of you, a gentle way of seeing things. It's a power that when we reach inside us, that you bring out the gentleness, we can be able to reach into people's life, that we can cause changes. Do you remember a time in your life that someone gently touched your life, gently touched in your heart, and you decide to make a change? This is more powerful than any lecture or any words of wisdom and advice given. The power of gentleness is manifest in the power of love. Then today, we need to consider then what is the opposite of gentleness? The opposite of gentleness is actually recklessness. When people are reckless, they engage and approach life out of panic, and they create a mess for others, people around them. When we're reckless, we drink, or we drive. Is that true? We do not have a care about what other people, the safety of people. When we are reckless, we throw tantrum with the smallest unpleasantness or something that irritates us. We tend to shift blame to people around us. At work, we'll ignore the world around us. By what? By striving to do more, achieve more, do more, to reassure ourselves. All this create problem between ourselves and others. The root source of recklessness come from the ego of self. Because we often felt inadequate or we felt threatened. And so we get restless when we come to situation of panic. We approach life and we do everything we feel that is correct, and we have no concern about others. And we do it out of panic. It's not about selfishness. It's just about the fact that we think about ourselves more than others. And in the end, we create a mess for others around us. It blinds us from the needs and acceptance of others. We think so much about ourselves that we fail to see the needs of other people and to accept other people that they are different. And therefore, gentleness means being considerate to others. We need to learn to be considerate in time of crisis, because that brings out the gentleness character of us. Ego, the barrier of gentleness. Proudness, conceit will cause us to lead each other to anger. The eagerness, the wanting to fulfill ourselves will often cause anger in people around us. And because we are so concerned about ourselves, it is so hard to accept our own shortcomings, our weaknesses. We all know we make mistakes at times, but because of the ego, it's so hard to accept that we make mistakes. It would be easy for us to shift blame to someone else. So it blinds us from the needs and the acceptance of ourselves. We fail to see that we need acceptance. We need to see that we are human. We make mistakes. It blinds for seeing that, hey, you know, we are different from another person, but hey, that's okay. We don't need to compare. We don't need to get ourselves accepted. We need to accept ourselves. You know, finger pointing. As you know, when you point your finger at someone, guess what? 3 other finger is pointing at yourself. When we hit a stone with a stone, we get fire spark. That's why anger will ignite when we have this ego in us. And most important thing of all, it sometimes causes anger to ourselves. It's true, because when we make mistake, when we know that we make a mistake and we do not want people to discover that, many times we use anger to cover up those weaknesses or those secrets that we are trying to keep. We use anger as a form of, you know, covering up. Truly, the only thing that limits you is your ego. You know, the ego will be a stopper to cause us to be who we can be, to be the real you, to be the authentic you. Gentleness means being considerate to yourself. We need to learn to let go of that ego so that we can be able to be considerate to ourselves. Gentleness and forgiveness. When we learn to be gentleness towards others, and we learn to be gentleness to ourselves, we actually be able to see that we are all the same. We are all human. And we begin to embrace life and understand that, hey, we are all the same. We have our weaknesses, as well as a strength. We have shortcomings, but yet so do others have. If we can learn all this, we can be able to embrace life and say that, hey, it doesn't matter. We are all unique. We are all special. And then that brings peace within us. Peace within us that, hey, you know, we do not need to use anger to cover up. We do not need to be angry with ourselves. We do not need to cause anger in people around us. We do not have to live out the ego so high that we fail to see the acceptance of others, the needs of others, as well as the needs and acceptance of ourselves. And not just the inner peace, we can be able to bring peace to people around us. And with that, isn't it easier to learn to forgive? And that's why gentleness brings forgiveness. I have some questions in order to measure our own level of meekness or gentleness. Ask yourself, when falsely accused, do you defend yourself with excessive display of strong feeling, using strong emotion like anger to cover up? Do you insist in having the last word in a discussion? Do you have the reputation as a person who remain calm in the middle of an uncertainty? Do you try to choose words that will not hurt someone's feelings? Do you try to get even with the person who hurts you? Do you want to fight with the person who breaks in front of you in line? When you rebuke someone, does it make you feel good to see them embarrassed or angry? Are you able to remain kind, gentle, and submissive when you're fighting against some injustice? A story of the great oak and the reef. The giant oak tree stood near the river bend where around it grew some slender reeds. When the wind blew, the great giant oak stood proudly, upright with its arm uplift to the sky, but the reeds bow low in the wind and sang a sad and mournful song. You have reason to complain, the ox said. The slightest breeze that ruffles the surface of water make you bow your heads, while I, the mighty oak, stand upright and firm before the howling wind. Do not worry about us, replied the reeds. The wind do not harm us. We bow before them, and so we do not break. You, in all your pride and strength, have so far resisted the blow, but the end is coming. As the reed spoke, a great hurricane of wind rushed up of the north. The oak stood proudly and fought against the storm, while the yelling reeds bowed low. The wind doubled the blow in fury, and all at once the giant oak fell, uprooted, and lay among the reeds. What the story tells, it is better to bend in gentleness when it's very folly to resist, than for us to resist stubbornly and then finally be destroyed. There's power in gentleness. In conclusion, like the potter trying to shape the pottery with her hand, we need to ask ourselves, are you moreable? We need to challenge ourselves, are you willing to be more? So that you will bring out the gentleness in your character. In terms of setback, gentleness will remain your gentleness even in the midst of challenges. It'll be hard. It's easy for our ego to come out, but it's for us in time of hard time, in setback, to just let gentleness prevail. The effort that we need to put in is we need to commit to ourselves and say, hey, let me stop this barrier of my ego and learn to be gentle, both with others and with ourselves. Feedback we need to ask people that we know the best around us, maybe your close one, your loved one, in which area is in your life that your gentleness is not evident. And finally, let us make our best effort to be considerate in the community that we live in. Especially now, so much so, the time of the COVID crisis. Let us be and let our gentleness be a character that prevail, that stand out, so that into the crisis, we can become champion by building the character of gentleness. Remember this, gentleness is power under perfect control. Thank you, and I hope that you love what I shared today about the character of gentleness. See you next week for the last episode of the 6-part series, Into a Crisis, onto a champion, building character. Thank you.